Hey everyone, welcome to episode 44 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and today's topic is, there is no topic. For today, this week, we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary as a podcast. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing? We're going right into it.
Yes. Okay. First off, it's been a year. You need to cut the shit. It's my turn to shine. Now I'm going to start doing the introduction. Welcome, everybody. You
welcome.
Damn. Oh, man. It feels really, really nice that we've been doing this for a whole year and there's actually people that want to listen to us. That's really... It's completely insane. Thank you all for listening.
I know, dude. It like completely blows my mind that we've been doing this for a year. I don't know what our intentions were when we started. I know we were just trying to. One, we were in the middle. We're still kind of in the middle of the pandemic, but it was a way for us to communicate, have fun with each other, try to hang out. I mean, we're unfortunately one of us lives in a different city, but you know that was the intentions, kind of just hang out and talk. And I can't believe it's been a fucking year. I mean, it's crazy.
It's pretty awesome that it's lasted a year. Who would have thought we were like, hey, we'll see if we can do a couple of episodes and see where it goes from there. And everything just kind of. It just kind of exploded from there. It's pretty great.
Let alone putting one out like almost every week. I know we take some breaks here and there. Speaking of, we just took a break last week before we get started. Everybody happy about the Super Bowl? What did we see? Are we happy?
Man.
Absolutely not, right?
I am not happy. I missed my pot number by 3. He just had to make a field goal at the end. 3-3. That's all I needed. 10 grand. Thanks a lot, Bengals.
It was not good football. When I saw those clips of Joe Burrow introducing himself to everybody like he was a fan,
that's like, freaking cool, man.
I mean, it's cool, but you don't do that in the Super Bowl, and you got to have that killer instinct. Tom Brady wouldn't be like, "Hey, I'm Tom Brady. Nice to meet you."
Tom Brady Tom Brady was talking shit on the field to who was it? The Honey Badger that year. He was like,
"Yeah."
Right. His first year, Tom Brady was still like wiping his nose, like, "Hey, it's really nice to meet you all." I'm sure.
I think he told a story about meeting Peyton Manning when he met Peyton Manning for the first time. That Peyton introduced.
That we don't talk about that guy. Oh no, we can talk about it now. I actually love Peyton Manning and Eli Manning's Monday Night Football show better than the actual ESPN. Whoever the announcers are, they're pretty hilarious, man.
Yeah, I think they got re-upped for like another 2 years.
They got re-upped because they're funny. People are tuning into them. They want to listen to them while watching the game rather than whoever the fuck it was. I have no idea who it was. Booger McFarland or I don't know. It was terrible.
Before we lose our audience because they're like, well, this is a pop culture show. They're going to talk about the Super Bowl the whole time.
That's right. We'll edit all this part out.
Have you guys watched the new season of Emily in Paris? No. My next question,
like Peyton Manning.
My next question is, what do you guys think about the halftime show?
Good. I really enjoyed it.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I don't know why everybody's giving 50 cent shit, man. Jesus Christ.
I know. Like, I didn't understand. I was like, exactly. Like, you know how long ago that song was? That was 2000. We were seniors in high school in 2000.
Looks like Reggie White.
when I think that song was pumping. Everybody thinks he's supposed to look like how he did
awesome,
when he was like 20-some years old. Like, come on, give him a break.
They were pretty awesome. I loved the entirety of the show. It was
great, my only nitpick was I think Eminem did Lose Yourself. That was the only one that he did. I think I was like, oh, it could have been. I thought he could have done another.
He did forgot about Dre, and that was a start. And then
a little bit, yeah. Lose Yourself's not particularly one of my favorite songs from Eminem. That's why. So
because you've never lost yourself.
Yeah, probably. I always know where I'm at.
I like Kendrick Lamar and Mary J. Blige.
Kendrick Lamar was the shit, dude, on the show.
Yeah, I thought.
He was awesome.
He was
and
good.
Of course, I mean, it was basically like Dre and Snoop, most of it, and they did their thing throughout the whole show. Of course, those guys could always do.
Oh yeah, did you see the stills of Snoop hitting a doobie before he came on stage? Pretty sweet, man.
Everybody was like, hilarious. "Oh, what was it?" The funniest one was I think I read was we would have been surprised had he not done that before. Why is everybody freaking out?
Between that and Eminem kneeling, we know that there is going to be a lot of. We won't get into politics.
Nobody cares about that shit. Eminem kneeled. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? I'm with you on that.
Everybody's looking to fucking nitpick on something.
The only thing, last thing, real quick. I thought two things. I thought it was cool Of course, bringing out a hologram. I know there was people that they wanted to see the Tupac hologram. I don't know if that would have been cool.
I think so.
I thought it was cool how they played a little bit of "I Ain't Mad at You."
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool. But secondly, I thought something that really kind of would have been cool, I guess. Game is a West Coast rapper as well, LA.
Who?
And he did the Game,
the one that had a butterfly in his eye.
Yeah,
God.
and he.
Come on,
And
Joseph. No, Joseph.
and he didn't come out. I don't know what that was. I thought, maybe a cool little thing would have been him and 50 doing that song that they had. I don't know. I thought it would have been cool.
No.
So we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary, talking pop culture, talking about the episodes that we've covered thus far, all 43 episodes, and some excitement that we got underway. Very happy to have you all listening to us and celebrating with us. We're going to talk to you guys a little bit about how we got started, how we met, and our experience so far as a podcast, and maybe give some tips and tricks to people who are thinking about starting their own podcast, or who just started, or who just want to listen to our experiences. So how we got started, notice we talk about how we've known each other virtually our whole lives. I'm a little older than these guys. So
A little.
Bob and Joseph, my mom used to take care of them at a daycare. Bob's my cousin, by the way, and we've already established that. I didn't want to give that away, but every time I made fun of his uncles, he'd
be like, "Yes, yours too, motherfucker. You've known him longer."
And so their older siblings started off. They were two of the first kids at my mom's daycare, and then these guys came along. So they've known each other before they could talk, and now neither of them will shut the fuck up. And so it's amazing how they've grown up together as best friends. They're in their mid-30s now, and the fact that we got to experience this together has been, awesome. Like they mentioned before, I live about 230 miles north of them, so we don't get to visit often. And the fact that we get to talk once a week about a specific topic and just focus on that topic, and how fun it was, and how we get to reflect and share the memories. It's just, to me, and to have people listen to it, it's just overwhelming. What do you guys think about the past year?
Jesus Christ, man. Allergies, tears. Jesus.
First off, real quick, I just want to throw a little funny tidbit. How Randy said what did you say? It's about how many miles? 200 and some miles?
230 miles, yeah.
230 miles from where we are. Roughly estimate, if you want to enter it in your Google Maps or something, it might tell you that you'll be there in about 4.5 hours. If Bob's driving, we'll be there in 3.
Three, baby. 3. With
just
the stop.
Throw that in the stop. But I just like to throw that out there. That's Bob for you. But what was the question?
What has been your experience so far in this this podcast life? Drink some water. And just your experiences so far with this podcast, and what you guys have thought. Because, okay, let me paint it this way. Everybody who does a podcast, and everybody who's listening, a lot of people host their podcast. You have to have a pretty big fucking ego to sit down and say, I think everybody around the world should know my thoughts about this topic or about that topic. Whether you choose pop culture, or you choose movies, or you choose music, or whatever, it takes a pretty big ego to say, like, I think people want to listen to this shit, especially if you have like no experience in radio or entertainment, to just go out there and put yourself out there. It takes a lot of hubris. It takes a lot of guts. And here we are saying, you know what? Let's see. And I'll tell you guys right now, our first day, and if you listen to our first podcast, we did One Hit Wonders. The sound sucks.
Horrible.
Not
to say that we're not to say. I think we've gotten better. I think we fixed
our sound is definitely gotten better.
I think
as
we've
far as us,
set the mics a lot better. I think
more
what
better.
we're doing. But yeah, it's horrible. We made a comment about that. I mentioned it in the group text. I was like, Jesus, I sound like I'm like in an empty warehouse, I believe, and it's very echoey. And I was like, what the fuck was I saying?
Bob's microphone was under his desk, or I don't know.
I was using like an iPad, and just the sound from an iPad. Like I didn't even have a mic at that point in time. So
it was a tough.
It was a good start though. Granted, too, I know you said like it takes a lot of guts to start a podcast, and like a little bit of ego, because you want to talk about a subject and for people to hear you. I had never thought anybody would actually listen to this shit, other than the 5 or 6 mutual friends that we all have. And I think we hit 20,000 downloads the other day, and that's just mind blowing, dude. That's crazy. I know some people are gonna be listening like 20,000. That's not shit. Yeah, but for us, we didn't think we didn't think anything would ever come of this. I mean, maybe we did, in the back of our minds, but to get 20,000 downloads within our first year, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and if you're one of those people, like, what the fuck, dude? Like we're look, when we got into this, and like we've mentioned it before, we like I said in the beginning, a lot of this was just us, just trying to communicate with each other because of the times we were living in. We just and just talking about things that we've always talked about all our life. We, like I mentioned before, this is what we do when we would get together. We talk about upcoming projects from some of our favorite artists or favorite directors, movies that we've seen, sports that we're watching. We're always doing something together like that, and this is kind of what we always do. I think it's just kind of like it's just a way for us to talk and hey, I think the risk it's more of a risk just for us
to risk it for the biscuit.
For us to decide, like, hey, let's just, like, we had a good conversation, maybe somebody will agree. And that's kind of why, we put it out there the way we put it out there. I mean, what's cool about it is, in doing this, is the connections that we've made with people, and through that, them reminding us of cool things that we've forgotten about, whether it's music or a movie or a TV show or something like that. Connecting with them and having them remind us of something, that's been badass. Like, to remember a song or something like that from the past that I didn't think of.
As well, though, we're trying to bring, I think when we started, we're kind of trying to bring that, yes, it's debate and trying to pick out who had the better this or who was the best this or worst this or whatever the case is. But we kind of wanted to bring that, like, or that backyard, barbecue conversation, when you're sitting with your couple of your buddies and you're talking about that movie that came out, or, oh man, this guy was the best, NBA star of the 90s, or this movie was the funniest one of the 80s. It kind of has that backyard conversation. I've actually heard from more than a few people that comment about our show or whatever the topic it is, like, oh man, as soon as you said this, I'm totally agreeing with you, or I'm totally disagreeing with you. And, oh, you forgot about this. As soon as you mentioned, Madonna, I was like, why the hell would you talk about Madonna? You should be talking about so-and-so or so-and-so. So I feel like a lot of people kind of respond back as they're listening to it in their car or in their gym or wherever they are. And then they take the time out to message us, be like, oh man, when you said this, I totally connected with that. Or when Randy said this, I totally agreed with that. Or when Joseph said this, I totally disagreed with that. Whatever the case was.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Everybody disagrees with what I say.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of metalheads out there that really like your opinion. But it's really cool that people comment and be like, oh man, I totally disagreed with the hell you were saying. How could you say this? How could you talk badly about Janis Joplin and Bobby McGee? So I think it's a cool way for us to connect with people, and people feel like, hey, I felt like I was sitting right next to you at the bar or in your backyard, and we were having that conversation. I was a part of it. I was sitting there during that conversation, listening to you all argue over, something funny.
I think my main goal with all this was like, because I listen, and I listen to other podcasts as well, or a book on, I don't want to say book on tape, but book on my phone, or to get through your workday, pretty much, because that's what it's done for me, like listening to other podcasts, mainly of like the celebrity ones that get actual celebrity interviews. But all I hope is that to do it all, like we've gotten to you through your day, or
we hope for responses. Respond. We want you to feel like you're a part of the conversation. We'd like more people to comment. We need more comments on like Instagram and on Twitter and everything. We need more comments, especially if we're wrong. People, tell us that we're wrong. I know we're wrong. I know Randy's wrong. Tell Rand that he's wrong, please. Somebody else has to.
I'm so glad you brought up the aspect of, we want to treat this like we're just a bunch of, friends hanging out at a bar or at a barbecue, having some beers, flipping through the channels, arguing about best this and best that. I think one of the important things to note, and anybody who's listening and wants to go into the podcast realm and check it out, because people will tell me, I want to do a true crime podcast, but that's so oversaturated. Like, so what? I mean, maybe there's a murder or there's a crime that people want to know more of, that you're going to say something with your personality, or you're going to bring out something with your insight that they didn't hear through the other podcasts. So I think having a hook is important. And I think our hook is like, okay, let's find the best of what, and let's argue about it. Let's debate. Let's have fun. Let's have laughs. Two of my favorite podcasts have kind of the same gimmick. Well, I don't want to call it a gimmick. They have kind of the same structure. I do like this one podcast. It's called The Nightlight Movie Horror Club. It's two sisters. One hates horror movies. The other one really loves them. And so they're arguing. Well, they're not arguing. They're talking about the movies that they watched together. And one sister hates the horror movies. The other one likes them. And inadvertently, I'm listening to another podcast that I love listening to. It's called Did Not Need to Know. One sister loves true crime. The other one hates it. I don't know if they know each other, but they have similar structures. And I'm like, wow, that is cool. I mean, I don't know if one took from the other or one inspired the other.
They're all related.
But I mean, I think it's cool that they use that as a structure to their podcast, because you're not just hearing about horror movies or true crime or pop culture. You're listening through it through a lens of somebody who understands one thing and another person who's learning and responding. And I think that's what our podcast kind of does. It's like we're learning about these facts and about pop culture, about our opinions, and we're responding to them. And I think that's what makes it cool, because I think that's what makes the audience intrigued and say like, he's so wrong on his response or on his selection, and how does he not get that, you know? And we want to piss people off is what I'm trying to say.
not advertently.
No,
we're not trying to, but I'm sure
we're not.
Plenty of times, I'm sure. And you know that there's some people out there, just like certain podcasts or certain ESPN analysts or whatever, like they say shit just to get a rise out of people.
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith.
Exactly. Just to get views and stuff like that, just to get responses. Like, we're saying stuff because, one, most of the time we think it's funny, at least funny to ourselves, you know, and two, it's just our opinion on the matter. You know what I mean? We may think that Jenny from Forrest Gump was a total bitch, but because she was, and anybody who wants to argue that, we're free to argue on Twitter, just like everybody else in America does. But it's not, we don't do anything for shock value or any of that bullshit. I think that's really, it's dumb. It's the easiest way to say it's dumb.
On this tips and advice topic, I have a cousin. My cousin Mark has a podcast. It's called Border Bikes. What he does is he refurbishes old bikes and sells them illegally across the border. No, he doesn't do that. No, he sent me a message asking me for some advice, and he's got a good podcast. It's very specific to what his interests are. And I was like, do that. I mean, he's got a location. He's got I don't want to call it a hobby. It's a passion. And he's got a good voice. He sounds like a handsome psychopath. And so when he's talking and he's got this like smooth, he's got a very smooth voice. I actually want to invite him on here for one day to, you know, and Mark, if you're listening, I'd like to have you on for a topic. We could do it on bikes, but we're all going to say Pee Wee Herman's bike and it's the best bike in a movie.
Best movie bike.
Best movie bike.
The one from E.T., man. That's fucking
what the fuck.
The one that got him in the air.
The Terminator in Terminator 2. Arnold was riding a pretty fucking sweet bike too.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, who's got the movie? And we're gonna have all of 5 dudes from the valley listening to that. Oh,
so, any tips or advice, guys, that you'd like to give anybody who's thinking about starting a podcast or who just started one, listens to us and says, hey, you know what? They got it all figured out, because we don't.
If those guys could do it, shit, anybody could. $20,000 for those assholes? No way. The only advice I'd give, man, is just do it. It's something fun, but it should be something you have fun with. If it feels like a job, if it feels like, oh my God, I have to do a podcast, I have to do this research, I have to look, then you know you're probably barking up the wrong tree. It should be something that's fun. It should be a fun topic, something that you're really passionate about, knowledgeable about, you know, just something that you really like talking about. So for us, obviously it's shitty 80s hair bands, music videos and stuff like that. But you know, whatever your topic, whatever you love, whatever you like talking about, that's what it should be about.
I agree. Just don't stress on too much. If you're with like a group of people, 3, 4, 5, or if you're just 2, you know, or one person, whatever it is, just try not to stress too much. I know. I think I hate to tell people like to go back and listen to our first couple of episodes because
I won them all.
No, because when I do and I hear them and I just think like, God, man, like but that's the point. Like
we were teenagers.
Yeah, we were like that's
just kids then. We didn't know. What we were
exactly. That's the point. We still don't know what we're doing. Just don't get frustrated. I would. And this is my personal thinking. I mean, it depends on what you want out of the show that you're trying to do. I like I said, I'm not trying to be mean. I appreciate the people that listen. It's just it doesn't matter to me. I don't make it like a big deal. So, but if it does to you, then keep going. If it doesn't, don't worry about don't be frustrated in the beginning. Don't look at numbers. Just do your thing. If it's therapeutic for you, like it kind of sounds like your cousin's bike one is sort of like a personal therapy to him. You know?
Does he describe him cleaning the bikes or fixing the bikes or putting them together?
He interviews local cyclists like from like Austin to Westland,
and like cyclists like not motorcycles, like cyclists,
bicycles. Bicycles.
Oh, cool, man. See, that's good. That could hit huge in like Austin. I know that's a huge thing in Austin.
And that's something that he's really passionate. I'm sure he feels a certain way about riding, being out there and riding. So, and to tell that experience, so that's really cool. Like, and anybody that I guess like that's really all I can say is just don't be frustrated with, and eventually everything, you'll figure it out, and don't worry about it. I mean, just do what we're doing what we want to do for ourselves and the people that listen. That's really cool.
My best advice, when we get new follow requests or when we send new follow requests, I always try to listen to the podcast a little bit. I mean, you'll look at like 850, you'll try to listen to like 2 minutes. I always give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I start at their latest episode instead of their first, because I'm like thinking, man, if they tune into like our first two, I'm not that I'm not proud of them. I mean, they were a learning curve and there were some speed bumps, but I'm like, I really hope they fucking go.
Because you chose Return of the Mac. Nobody told you to choose Return of the Mac. Nobody told you to choose that.
I really hope they start from like the latest and work their way. I want them to listen to everything, and I hope they start from the latest. But it's like you guys said. I think you guys put it beautifully. Don't stop. If it starts seeming like a task or a chore, because having a podcast is work. I mean, you have to, have the time, you have to, set limits, you have to do research, you have to edit, you have to, make sure the sound sounds okay. And it could be a lot of work. And when you start getting frustrated, and then the one thing I think that demoralizes a lot of people is when their listenership isn't where they feel like it should be. I mean, we had 47 listeners that whole first month that we were on, and we were fucking excited. We were like, there's a guy from France that fucking listens to us. Thank you, Pierre. Jesus.
Oui.
Je m'appelle Randall. I was excited about that when we started, and obviously some of these are probably VPNs or whatever. But when we started, I was listening. You start vesting interest on what you do and what you focus on. And if anybody sees their numbers dwindling or they're not at the point, hit us up. I mean, we would like to give you some advice and let you know what we did. We just, started bugging people. And can I share a funny story? I have funny stories on the next bullet point. And I wanted to ask you guys if you guys had any funny story. I have a funny story about how I try to promote us that I never shared with you guys. So this is going to be new for you guys. And but that's what you got to do. You got to promote. You got to get out there. You got to hashtag the shit out of everything. Anything that you mention. If you mention George Michael for one sentence, hashtag him, fucking tag him. I don't
post a picture of him. Make him fucking listen. We love you, George.
Well, I mean, we can't anymore, right? But just stay confident. And if you're a strong believer in your work and this is something you're passionate about, the numbers shouldn't fucking matter. It's the camaraderie. Like I would talk to these guys just on Zoom and not record it and not post it because it's fun. And they make me laugh and, they're like my little brothers and I love talking to them. And if this is what we're doing just to have this compartmentalized for our viewing or our listening later on, I would do it. And that's what makes it fun. And then we get like thousands of people a week listening to us. So it's fucking great.
That's cool. It's cool. What is wrong with you people?
Any funny stories you guys like to share? Like any experiences, like somebody talking to you about the podcast or anything like away from the actual recordings that you could share? I got one in case.
What Joseph lives in the hood. We've had cops, dogs barking, people knocking, shit like that.
No. I could tell one. I'm generally, and this goes back to like when our family members find us, like, or they hear about it through somebody else, and so just a funny story that, like, I think it was early on, like I think we were like I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 episodes in, something like that, definitely before we hit 10. I was talking to my mom, and my mom told me that my aunt, her sister, had told her, I guess because they found out about it, so my aunt listened to one of the episodes, I don't know one in particular, and I'm like aside away from this, and I don't think Bob would agree, because when I guess when we're doing this, I'm more comfortable, but out and about, I'm usually quiet.
Yeah, you're quite very introverted.
I'm very quiet. I'm very, I sit there and I just observe my surroundings, and if you ask me a question, I respond, and but I just don't talk. Like, it's just not in my nature. And so my aunt told my mom, that's probably the most I've ever heard Joseph talking, like, ever. And
you should have seen him after a few Bud Lights at South by. He was dancing with chicks everywhere.
So I have a funny story. It was after we did our best heartbreak song episode, and I can't remember what episode that was. That was one of our first 10. I have a friend. I don't know if you guys met him. His name is George Elizondo. 5. Episode 5.
Elizondo.
Yeah, Georgia. And so George Elizondo.
No, 4. I'm sorry, 4.
Episode 4?
Yeah,
so,
I apologize.
So no, you're good. So he's a world-renowned Latin dance instructor, and I'm not bullshitting on this. He teaches bachata. You guys know what bachata is, right? It's kind of like
it's like that milky drink. No, you get the
bachata.
We make it during Christmas every year, bro.
With cinnamon. All our Canadian listeners are like, what the fuck are these guys talking about?
What's this all about? Anyway, get the moose off my lawn.
Anyway. All right, you got too far.
That was Randall, by the way. That was Randall. R-A-N.
I love our Canadian friends.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, for sure. And so George goes by he teaches bachata, and bachata it's like lambada. You pretty much, if you're the male, you're straddling the female on your knee, on your lap, and you're moving side to side, and then you thrust, and then you move to side to side.
Jesus Christ. Sounds like it's beyond Betamax.
It's kind of like the thrust looks like, when you're kind of walking, and then you look at your surroundings, you turn around, and you don't see anybody there, and you kind of lift your leg because you got like a wedgie stuck. That's the way they kind of thrust. So George goes by Jorge Elizondo. Jorge is his name. I mean, nobody wants to fucking dance seductive with a guy named George. You got to go with Jorge, if you're gonna do bachata, Latin dance. And George is a non-conventional looking dance instructor. He's kind of big, and I say that with no malintent. He knows this, and that's part of his appeal. He's kind of an everyman, and he's very light on his feet, kind of like Heavy D or Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, this guy could move around, and he's a tremendous dancer, and he's an even better teacher. And this guy has taught like in Europe, in Asia, Australia. You could go to I think it's bachatafusion.com. I don't know. I'm giving them free promotion here. Anyway,
George, you had a thrust. You might as well.
So George, the pandemic hit him pretty hard because he couldn't travel to Asia and all these places that he does quite frequently. And he needed to write a small business grant when the government was giving out small business grants. And he asked me, he goes, you're a writer, and I know you've written grants before. He's like, could you write this for me and I'll pay you? And I'll say, I'll write it for you, but don't pay me. Put our podcast, me and my two friends, teach me how to thrust, and we'll call it even, and he dances with some beautiful women. So he's probably laughing right now. And anyway, he told me, he goes, well, I told him, don't pay me. Put our podcast. I have a podcast with two of my cousins and two of my friends. Put our podcast on your Facebook page, because he has like 5,000 friends, and he has like another like 20,000 followers or whatever. And Google him, Jorge Elizondo. He will pop up, and you guys would know who I'm talking about.
That's with 3 H's, a W, a J, O-R.
So he goes, okay. I'll put your podcast on. So I was thinking like, okay, badass. We're gonna get some more hits because of this, or some more downloads, I should say. So this guy has a background in videography, and when I met him, he was a videographer and he worked for the news station and everything. And so this guy puts our podcast on a post, and he tags like all our mutual friends, and it's a best heartbreak song. I want you guys to remember the title of this episode. And he puts like a very like romantic like bachata music with like floating hearts, and he has like us three like floating around like in our main cover picture, and it looks like so like dainty and like not what we're about. And I was like, no, what are you doing? Like, I mean, that's not what our podcast is about. We're not about like talking about love and love advice, and people are going to get the wrong idea. They're going to tune in and they're going to hear three guys saying fuck shit, Return of the Mac, fucking Sylvester Stallone. And I was like, oh man, I wonder how many people tuned into that episode, listened to the first 5 minutes and said, who the fuck are these guys? George Jorge steered us wrong. Usually, I thought that was a pretty interesting sort of funny side note. I never told them, hey, take the post off. I was very appreciative of it, but that's one guy I know that doesn't listen to any of our fucking podcasts because he obviously didn't know what we were about. So that was my funny story.
Funny stories, just about being on the podcast in general. No, I can't really say. I know, I've had like, cousins and aunts being like, oh yeah, I've heard your podcast. Like, oh shit. I've had friends or people like post, oh, I heard your podcast. I'm like, oh, cool. Like shit. Like, especially at the beginning, I was extremely self-conscious about this whole thing that we're doing. Like a complete opposite from Joseph. Like, I don't give a shit about anybody who listens. And I kind of felt the same way. But then when you start getting like, friends people that you're friends with, like on Instagram that, they're friends with you from high school or whatever, you don't really talk to them. And then they're like, oh, I found your podcast. This is your podcast. You're like, oh shit. Like you kind of get a little subconscious of it. And like, oh man, hopefully they like it.
I should have never dumped you.
I'd ever leave you. Making those glorious picks this entire man. Yeah, but other than that, no, I like, no real embarrassing stories. I can't wait for it to be the day for somebody to like run into me somewhere like, hey, you're the asshole from Formidable Opponents. How dare you say that about Jenny from Forrest Gump?
Let's go on and talk a little bit about our picks. Best all-time pick. What we're going to do now is we're going to share what we each of us think the other's best picks were from the first year. And sort of, I mean, this is an anniversary, right? This is a time to celebrate, compliment each other, thank each other for doing this. So we're going to go with our best picks. I'll start off, and I will say over the past year, there's one kind of pick from both of you that I thought like, man, I wish I would have made that pick. I would say episode, and I'm bringing it up now, episode 28, Biggest Movie Betrayal. I thought Bob picking Rose from Titanic was a good fucking pick.
Yes,
I was like, and I will say you want, and people told me I can't because I went with Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka.
Yeah, you went with Grandpa Joe.
Yeah, and people say, "Well, that was fucking weak. Those other two guys kicked your ass."
Weak,
but everybody told me that the guy, people who don't know Bob and know me, they're like the guy that picked, Bob who picked Rose from Titanic. That was a good one. I said, I know, right when he said it, I knew he was going to win, but we have a show to do and we have to pick our picks. And I thought that was great. For Joseph, I thought Joseph's best pick, and Joseph is a guy who's really into music. He's got a great music mind. When we did our Nirvana episode 27, Heart-Shaped Box, I felt was, I mean, when I listened to it over and over, best Nirvana song, I would probably say he was right on that one because it's a tremendous song. It gives me goosebumps. I cannot listen to some of these other songs because I played them so much, but something about Heart-Shaped Box never fucking ages. And for that, I think Joseph had the best pick for that episode.
Well, it was written about Courtney Love's vagina, so, it has aged. It has.
Yes.
Throwing that out there.
How very not. No, I thought you were gonna just who gives a shit? I don't care if this makes it in. I thought since you said something, you gave your pick, Bob's pick. I was gonna say what I thought Bob's pick was, and then
okay. Did you
go ahead? No, go ahead.
There's
no format, sir. Just go for it. Roll with it.
Well, speaking of best picks, I gotta say, to be honest with you, Bob's one of Bob's picks that I always like. I was like, I really doesn't matter what I say because, to be honest with you, I agree with Bob. Was our best cover song one, which was episode 15.
15, yes.
Oh yeah.
Bob picked Johnny Cash Hurt. To be honest with you, the reason he had not said that I was gonna go with that because I mean I don't particularly like. I remember your pick, Randy, and
come on, I got that one coming up, so don't tempt me. All right.
But I thought that like after Bob made that pick, pretty much everything that we did after, or at least that I did, anything that I can think of, anything that I can like come back, and I chose Metallica "Turn the Page," which I do love. I do love that song. I think it's a great song. Just the way I heard
you're amazing.
I heard
the way you are. Is that what
I heard no. I heard Hurt the other day, and again I was like, fuck, man, this Johnny Cash cover is on another level. And to be honest with you, it would have been my pick. I think Bob probably made the pick quickly, and after that it was like, okay, well, I got to come up with something better than that, even though I know I probably can't, because it's a great song, and I don't know any other covers that are as crazy or as meaningful or as deep or as their own than Johnny Cash covering "Hurt" by Nine Inch Nails. So that was the one that I thought, that's probably Bob's best pick.
Yeah, I agree. What about Randy?
I agree.
No, I agree.
You're gonna stay quiet on my pick, right?
And Randy, crickets. I like the way you use your voice in the openings.
You know what? I think for Randy, I'd probably have to say his pick, best wrestler. You picked Ric Flair. Yeah, I was reminded of Ric Flair's awesomeness the other day. He was I'm a big Texas Tech fan.
Oh yeah,
and he's I don't know, he doesn't live in Texas, but motherfucker loves Texas, and I love that Ric Flair loves Texas.
He loves anybody who pays him.
I mean, he's always
we all know that, but how dare you?
He's gone to numerous Astros games, and then the other day he went to he went to Lubbock, and he went to a Red Raider basketball game.
Lubbock, Texas.
They did a whole thing for him. He was there's a video of it probably on their all their social media pages. He got on the mic, and he was doing the whole Red Raider, woo woo, and I was like, God dang, this guy is awesome. I mean, he can go. And then we saw and then of course just watching old clips of him. I think we were watching clips of him the other day. What were we watching? The Rumble. And we just decided to put on, right, Bob? I think we just put on some old Ric Flair clips,
promos, and
it's just, I was like, God dang, this guy's awesome, man. And again, I love my pick, but all time,
Who did you end up picking that time? The Undertaker.
I picked Stone Cold. I picked Stone Cold.
Oh, okay, Stone Cold. Yeah. I picked Hulk Hogan. I
think with Ric Flair, to respond to that, thank you, first of all. And then secondly, I think Ric Flair doesn't get the recognition that, because he was old school NWA territory days. He did his best work in the 80s, late 70s. And by the time the 90s rolled around and he got into mainstream WWF, WCW, his best work was beyond him. I think a lot of people remember Flair from like the comical falls, the chops. But I mean, if you look at like his old work, like his workmanship, doing 60-minute matches 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week was tremendous. And isn't it kind of weird that all of our picks didn't go on to elevate their profile the way Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, and Dave Bautista did? Like Hulk Hogan tried to make movies, but kind of in the same way Elvis was making movies. He was making like those shitty Surfer Hawaii movies, and Hulk Hogan.
How dare you?
Hulk Hogan never did anything above like a Suburban Commando or the Nanny or whatever. Yeah, other than that, right? But I mean, it's amazing that our picks didn't transfer into the mainstream like these other three guys. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But Bob, go ahead. Who best?
Let me
picks?
see your best picks. Obviously, Brandy, I think you had a couple that were really good. The best 90s sitcom, when you talked about Seinfeld.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, I thought that was one of your better picks. I'm going to mention the Saved by the Bell episode. If you haven't heard that one was hilarious. Your pick of the Rob Belding episode. I always think it's hilarious because I think that's one of the episodes of Saved by the Bell that had many that really sticks out to me now that I'm older. That like, why the fuck would you let the substitute brother take them on a whitewater rafting? Anyways, that was a great pick. And then Bohemian Rhapsody as your best 70s rock song. I thought those 3 picks were probably some of your best picks. I can't say about the rest of them, but I'm just kidding.
I won 3 out of 43.
3 out of 40. Good. How many have we done? 46?
43. This is 43.
Holy shit. Well, 3 out of 40 ain't bad.
Yeah.
Love you, Meatloaf. Joseph, let me see. Dancing in the Street, the worst 80s music video. I think that was a great pick. I think that was probably one of your best picks of all time. I have two written down for you, but that one I thought was hilarious because that video was just absolutely terrible. And then the best sitcom dad, he chose Uncle Phil. And I thought that was a really, really great pick, especially because he wasn't necessarily.
I think that's good.
He was a father figure for everybody on that show. And I think that was a really great pick. I think those for you all were really great. One I wanted to mention for myself, and this is not anything, our very first episode I chose for a one-hit wonders. I chose a-ha's Take On Me. And I recently heard that episode the other day. Yes, the mic's terrible and we sound completely off and the format wasn't that great, but you know what? Like we had some pretty good arguments for those. That was a pretty decent episode.
It was a good episode. And not to not we talk about how, it wasn't our best, but whose first episode is going to be their best? Nobody's.
Conan.
And then we're going to go on to the worst pick soon, but quickly on there's only two times we had to stop completely. And one of them is during the wrestling episode. And these guys could attest. I had a shitty little laptop. It was my son's school laptop. It was an Acer. And every time I would upload an episode, like my son would get mad because it had such little memory that if I didn't erase the episode after I posted it, he couldn't get into his apps and stuff, and he'd get pissed off and like, why are you always using my computer? It's like, it's the only one I got so far.
Can't see the Muppets, but you erased the Muppets.
So when we did the wrestling, when we did the best wrestling show, we were about 30 minutes into it, and then my shit crashed. And I called these guys and said, hey, if you want to postpone, like, no, let's go back on. And I think, Bob, you made the joke, like it looked like my beard stubble was getting grayer because I was sweating. And I was like, how are we going to, because we had a good 30 or 45 and they were good.
Yeah, we did.
It was a really good start to the episode. We had to restart it from the beginning because we lost everything.
But I will say this, I think the restart was even better. I think when we got back in, because I remember like giving thumbs up and like laughing. I'm like, you guys are hitting all the right jokes, and we had to retell some stories. But I mean that, and then another one, because you mentioned the Saved by the Bell, and this joke might not hit as much as it does now, but when you were talking about how Zach and Slater would bet $100, and like we came from a very like poor area of Texas, and Bob had said like we bet like, I mean, $100 in 1990 is equivalent to $215.11 today. So could you imagine? So, but when Bob mentioned that, we'd bet like fucking chocolate milks, I couldn't stop fucking laughing. It wasn't probably the best joke, but for some reason it completely caught me off guard. I had to say, let's cut for a minute so I could fucking compose myself.
I remember that. I remember us laughing nonstop, and we had to like pause the show so we can get our composure.
But man, that was a great moment. I really enjoyed that. Okay, so we're going to talk about worst picks now, and we're going to talk about Bob's first. I think Bob's all-time indefensible worst pick was All I Want for Christmas for Mariah Carey as worst Christmas song. That was our Christmas episode. I'm going to bring it up right now.
You and all the 30 and 40-year-old women that listen to our podcast are like, you're right. You tell them, Randall.
That was episode 38, worst Christmas song. And I was like, how could that be the worst? It's one of the best Christmas songs. As I told you, if this was, and I made this argument on the podcast, if this title was All I Want Is You, and we were listening to it every fucking day, I would understand. But the fact is, it's a Christmas song. We only listen to it for about 7 weeks a year. And Mariah Carey goes back into the ocean.
In hell.
I think it's a great song. I think after all she's been through, she's always kind of kept it even keel. I know she's been a little eccentric, and this is where Bob accuses me of reading too much TMZ, but the relationship she's had, all the fucked up things that have happened to her, I think it's a great song, and I think that was a horrible fucking pick because it's an awesome Christmas song. you can defend it if you want, right?
It's like I can just imagine you putting candy canes on a Christmas tree, jamming to this and prancing around your living room.
Exactly.
No, there's no arguing here. I don't have to argue the point. I've already argued the point. Joseph, what was my worst pick? Tell me. If you say All I Want for Christmas Is You, I swear to God.
No, I agreed with you. I thought it was a horrible song. No, for me, the pick that because the one that stands out to me the most, it was when we did the best 80s rock. Your pick for Van Halen, with Jump by Van Halen. I thought, like, in my mind, like, I was like, bro, you could have picked another Van Halen song. I still believe that. I still believe, like,
you still like the synthesizer.
Like Jump. To me, I still think like Jump doesn't really like jump. Might as well jump. Like, Like, yeah.
Nothing rock about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, I just because there's like, dude, and I think I said this. I was like, dude, you could have gone with like Panama. Like, if you had gone with Panama, I probably would have been like, that's a great fucking pick, and awesome. I still think my pick is better. I did Welcome to the Jungle, but I would have been like, dude, like, but yeah, Panama's fucking rocking. It's crazy. It's awesome, but Chip, might as well. Like, I was like, so I think that's
Park of the Moon. Then
that I said, yeah, or but I mean. Not to say that Jump isn't a good song. I just don't think it's I think it was one of your. I think you could have gone. I thought you could have gone better, and I thought you could have picked another Van Halen song.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I'm sure we're gonna talk about it. That's actually one that, looking back on it, I was like, man, Van Halen was like one of the biggest rock bands of the '80s, if not the biggest rock band of the '80s. And I should have gone with a song that rocked a little harder. Yeah, I agree. I think the Jump hit a lot on a lot of the charts and everything like that. But I can agree with that.
In some capitulation, a humble moment, a rare humble moment. Yes.
Rare.
That was for those
42 out of 43. I mean, come on, that's all right. That's all right.
For those keeping score, that was from our best '80s rock song episode 30. So in case you want to check it out.
Let me see. What about Joseph's worst picks, man? Right. What do you got for Joseph? What was Joseph's his worst pick?
I didn't want to say this because I think he's going to take this way too personally. So I want to keep.
Now you have to. I mean, you kind of have to now.
I know exactly.
Speaking of best decade songs, best '90s rock song, episode 8, "Tonight" by the Smashing Pumpkins. There's nothing rock about that song. In my opinion, from a metalhead like you, there's nothing. You completely took me by surprise on that one. It's not a bad song. I love Smashing Pumpkins. I think there's 8 or 9 songs that
after Halloween.
There's about 8 or 9 songs I would have picked. Zero, Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Today, there's so many songs I would have picked in front of it, but tonight as a rock song, I wasn't buying it, man. And coming from you, it was a shock.
I don't agree. I don't disagree. Like, we'll get it. We're going to talk about it later. I think there's another question we're going to ask. Yeah, I look at that one, and I've thought about that one. I see your point.
In your defense, when we were giving honorable mentions, I did say the Cranberries Linger, and when I said that, I immediately winced, and I forgot to fucking edit it out. And I had people saying, "How the fuck are you gonna call Cranberries Linger a rock song?" I was like, "I'm sorry, I fucked up."
It makes me cry. I feel with it.
No. I will talk about it later. Yeah, that's one that I look back on, and I do like what Bob said. I asked myself, like,
what was I on?
Yeah, what was I on?
What's funny is I love how you mentioned like tonight being like, there's nothing rock about that song, and then your pick was "Hello, I've waited here for you." It's very soft, and give me a break. Both of y'all songs too soft, a bunch of softies, but Jump wasn't rock enough, man. You needed some more. Come on, and you both chose little sissy songs. Give me a break. I'm just kidding.
What did you think was Joseph's worst pick?
Joseph, I have 2, actually 2.
2? You fucking
yes,
asshole.
2. I know.
Pick one.
Well, you chose Newman from Jurassic Park as your biggest. What was it? The biggest betrayal in a movie.
Yeah.
Movie. And I didn't think that was such a big. I mean, you could have chose Jenny from the Bronx.
He betrayed everybody.
Nobody cares,
especially the dinosaurs.
Yeah,
people died because of this motherfucker.
I think that was your.
3 people died.
Leo died, for God's sake. Leo died.
One person is one too many.
Exactly. Leo, beautiful Leo, died.
All right, you said 2. Go ahead.
I'm not going to go on the other one because it's going to be really offensive.
No. Say it.
No.
I'm just kidding. So yeah, I had that one, and then I thought one of your weaker ones, but not because it's a weak pick, but because there were so many other better Christmas movies. I thought Jingle All the Way was one of your. I thought you went probably with one of your favorite movies, not one of the better ones, but there's a lot of great Christmas movies, and I think it falls 6, 7, 8 around there. Still top 10, but I didn't think it was one of the best of all time.
I can see that. I mean, yeah, it is a personal favorite.
I love that movie. I think it's very funny, but it's hard when it's a Christmas movie. There's 5 complete classics that are really, really hard to beat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Cherub Rock is another one that fucking rocks. If you would have chosen Cherub Rock,
yeah,
that's a great one. Sorry,
you know what the best part of this is, Joseph? We got to talk about Randy's worst picks now.
Oh gosh, no, we're going for an advertisement right now.
Joseph,
all right,
Joseph, go ahead, Joseph. I know you want to.
I'll go. No, I'll go first. So one of the ones that sticks out to me a lot is, and it's more so because I think like me and Bob, when you made this pick, a lot of people said, "Who?" Exactly.
I know where you're going with this.
What? Oh yeah.
The
Okay.
Smithereens, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No. And I know you probably thought I was going to go with Whitney Houston, but which is bad in its own self. But
so cool. Before you go on with that, this is from our band's artist that should have had a bigger career. Episode 36. But go ahead. Why was that a bad pick?
Because I think that, like I mentioned, I think I remember what I said when we did this podcast is that this band, I don't believe they ever really had anything that made them stand out to make them like a one-hit wonder or anything like that. With Lit had a few hits and then disappeared. They had more than one hit, so they weren't necessarily a one-hit wonder. Third Eye Blind, I believe they have plenty of hits. Bob didn't think so, but hey, that's everybody knows Third Eye Blind. Maybe, and I know we went into it probably because of the singer, but still, it's a well-known thing. Lit was well-known, and I think just because, and I didn't think that they sucked. I just didn't know them. And that's the problem. I didn't know who the fuck they were. I didn't know anything about them.
Who does?
And I thought I thought you could have gone with somebody a little bit more like that people would have known. But I understand. I give you props for the pick, for thinking like, okay, this is brave. But like what Bob said, this is maybe something a band that you like, and I think you like them. And you because you like them, you think they should have been bigger. And like I heard the songs that you told us to listen to, and I thought, hey, it's actually it's a pretty good song, but I didn't know who the fuck they were.
Like a lie. Sounds like a lie.
So yeah, that's probably, to me, I think that was your worst pick.
Could I defend that pick for
go ahead.
You guys have obviously never been into a college
cultured
in a college dorm room in the mid-90s. So I just put it. No, yeah, I get, when I picked it, I said they're both going to shit on me. And I remember texting it to you guys, and they're going to say, this guy mistexted something, or he meant to text this to somebody else.
The Smiths. I think he means the Smiths.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going with. I think that you guys were going to say, I think he meant the Smiths, and he just, fucked up his texting or whatever.
Autocorrect.
Autocorrect put it in the Smithereens, right? But no, I do enjoy this band, but I get it from like Lit and Third Eye Blind, and especially for a younger generation, for you guys. I know that Third Eye Blind was, I was just watching that Pam and Tommy documentary. When it's not a documentary, it's a TV show on Hulu. And there's a scene where Motley Crue gets kicked out of the studio because Third Eye Blind, they were in Elektra Records too. That Third Eye Blind has to come in and do a recording session, and Motley Crue like, well, what the fuck? They're washed up. And so when they said Third Eye Blind, I immediately thought of this episode and how Bob had picked them and how we made fun of the lead singer a lot. His name escapes Steven something. His name escapes
Jenkins.
Stephen Jenkins, Stephen Jenkins. And of course, Lit was a great band too. And I could see why you guys picked them. But the Smithereens, I think I was really thinking with my Gen X brain on that one. And
if you had said Lou Vega, then that probably would have been.
No,
that might have been a better, because Mambo number 5. I mean, who didn't think that guy was going to have a fantastic 10-year career?
my Latin dance instructor friend Jorge.
Yeah. That's with 3 H's, a J, O-R.
Speaking of Lou Bega, I think what was it? I think it was that episode that we were talking about earlier, where you were like, you feel it, or was it the one you posted?
I think, or did you post it? Randy was singing.
Did you post it? You posted something about
I didn't post it.
No, I think
I posted when it was best 80s. I'm sorry, it was best. Oh, you're gonna make me look for it now.
One hit wonders, dude.
Yeah, it was one hit wonders revisited.
The 90s.
Oh yeah, you posted that, or something, or we went and listened to that, and then there's a part like that just goes into that where you're talking about Mambo No. 5, and you were talking about how like everybody, it was so big because like it's just as a bunch of names, so everybody like a bunch of girls in the club drinking, and they're like, and you did like this impression like ooh, Jessica, hey, is that my name? Go back and listen. And you were like, that's my wife's name, by the way.
It is, yeah. It was indefensible, by the way. Well, white women love that song. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, he didn't say Maria and like Lupe. He was like, who's gonna buy my fucking album? Jessica, Monica, whatever the fuck he shouts out.
Go ahead, Bob. What was Randy's roast pick in your opinion?
Oh my God. Well, first off, it was the Smithereens. Let's just go with that. It was the Smithereens. But
Let's go.
I also had Clubber Lang. Are you serious with Clubber Lang? And not only that, like he really believed it. He really believed
he
that
beat
Clubber
Rocky
Lang
in 2 rounds.
It was a fluke fight. We already said it.
Fluke. It was a fluke. He had a stomach ache, just like Roberto Duran. He had a fluke. Made a bad stomach ache.
You're the same guy that say that the Bengals lost the Super Bowl because Joe Burrow had a torn meniscus or whatever. No,
I heard about that. No, was that legit? Did he
I don't think it was torn. I think he hurt himself. I don't know what. But Clubber Lang beat Rocky. I'm sorry. If your mentor dies or has a heart attack, you knew that you prepared for a fight.
What the hell? You're heartless. You're heartless.
But I can see that
because he's Mr. T. That's all this is about.
I will say that in the Rocky canon, Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago are bigger entities because you had the Creed movies, you had Ivan Drago, most popular, Cold War still comes up. So I could see that. Okay. I will give you guys that one. Okay. So this question is episode you won without a doubt. And we'll start off with Joseph. What episode do you think like there's no way in hell you guys won the argument?
Wow.
Say it. Don't be bashful.
Yes.
I'll go with the best Nirvana song. Yeah, fuck yeah. I believe I won that. I believe I won that.
Which one?
Best Nirvana song.
Best Nirvana song.
Yes, I believe I won that one.
Out of
your picks, out of the picks, and this is not a like I think Bob didn't do or nobody wanted to do. You didn't do Smells Like Teen Spirit because you had picked it another one.
I'd recently done it in the best 90s rock song.
The
winning rock song.
I can respect that. I personally wouldn't have cared. But out of the 2 picks that you brought Bob picked Lithium, Randy picked In Bloom. I picked Hard Shape Box, and out of those 3 picks, I believe I won that.
Well, great. You just paid Courtney Love more money, Joseph. Congratulations. Hope you're happy.
All right. I you know what? I can't argue with that because I think that was an excellent pick and probably their best song. So.
I think if I had chosen Smells Like Teen Spirit like I wanted to, I think that would have been the winning pick. So I think out of the 3, I can give you that one. I think you nailed that one with Heart Shaped Box, even though it's all about Courtney Love, which is terrible, Joseph. You're a terrible person, but you won.
Bob, what about you? What episode? Pick one out of the 40 that you think.
Well, one out of the 42, out of the 43. I mean, obviously, shit. No, I think Joseph mentioned it eearlier. Johnny Cash's cover of "Hurt" is the best cover song of all time. It's of all time in our episode. I think the argument I brought forward for that one, I just don't think it's untouchable as far as a cover song. It's a great rendition of the song. He makes it his own. Even Reznor said that it's his song now, let it be my song. So I think that episode, pick was a really hard pick to beat.
Oh True. Man, it's I wish he hadn't said that. So we're talking about best cover song, episode 15. The episode I felt I won was "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston as the best cover song of all fucking time.
She's singing in front of a mirror. She's singing in front of her to herself. How
could you go against it? I mean, you don't have to like the song, and I guess
let's just she's either singing the song about herself in front of a mirror, or she's singing it to Bobby Brown. You're wrong either way, Randall. You're wrong either way.
It's just what she did for that soundtrack is a shitty movie. What she did for her career.
You're not a fan of Kevin Costner?
I do. I love Kevin Costner. I watch Yellowstone. But
would be like, he would die for you.
Oh God, please don't mention Yellowstone.
It's a good show. I Will Always Love You is just, to me, she made it her own. I mean, no, and don't get me wrong, Hurt by Johnny Cash is fucking amazing, and what he did with it and what it represented in his life and his career, the waning years, and what Trent Reznor has what he said about Johnny Cash covering the song, how he made it his own. But man, I don't know, man. I know we're talking about 2 deceased artists, but I don't know, man. Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, just to me, it enraptures a whole decade and her whole career. So, I mean, that's just an
decade. Are you
nuts? Yeah, absolutely.
What decade was that?
The 90s.
So Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You. That's the 90s. Right? If somebody asked you, what's the best song of the 90s? Whitney Houston's I Will
Always
Love You.
Best cover song.
just because I got the list in front of me. I know I threw this out to you guys just real quickly off the top of your head. Do you think you can quickly come up with your pick? You feel like your worst pick?
Yeah. And I have that on the list too. Pick that you would redo. Do you guys mind if I go first?
Yeah,
I think they're two different questions.
Okay.
Personally, because to me the pick that I think that and it's an episode that I hate. I really hate this episode. I was off. I know. Okay, let's see. I think we did a funniest movie scene, and I was like,
you're like, cut me out of the whole show.
Basically, I basically said that, everybody out there. I said, like, you know what, guys, can you just, Randy, just say like we lost Joseph's audio completely? I just I don't know what was up with me that night. I think at the time I wasn't sure how to, and now we've done scenes, we've done episodes where we talk about scenes. When I did and how to describe the scene without giving a play-by-play, I guess. And I did that. It's a horrible episode, in my opinion. I wish you all wouldn't go listen to it. I hate it.
Tell everybody what number it was. Where to find it?
It was episode 10. Please listen to it. And we're gonna do remember that Simpsons episode where they have Poochie, the rapping dog, and they get rid of him? We're gonna say Joseph went back to his home planet.
I was like, please just cut. I was like, I hated it. I was like, I don't know what was up with me that day.
To Joseph's defense, we all have our off days. I did edit it
I'm off right now, but I think I'm better.
No, I think that episode you had 2 minutes of talking about, and you're and I think it was a 16-minute rant, not a rant, but your selection. And I was like, he's like, he wants me to cut it down. I was like, I'm gonna cut it down to 2 minutes. He gives his selection, and then he just goes on to the next topic.
He's like, that's a good pick. What do you guys think?
Well, Joseph, what was your pick? Well, I picked pullover, so the beginning opening scene where they pulled over from Super Troopers. I thought it was real funny. And moving on, that's basically what Randy did. I wish. I'm sorry if you all can think one that you were like, oh fuck, not one that you'll redo, because we'll talk about that.
Okay, if that's different.
Well, I mean, that's
just
the way I
if you can do it real quick. All right, well, I wouldn't redo that one. I liked it, just would completely redo how I talked about it. You know,
I got you. Okay, now I see what you mean.
Because I love that scene. I think it's
you would have brought a different argument to it, or you would have said it better.
Yeah,
more better.
Maybe that I asked the wrong question. That's maybe the episode I hate.
Sort of redefend, or how you would structure your argument different is what you're trying to
I got you.
Okay. I think mine would be Grandpa Joe in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because I think that's the one who I probably got my ass kicked on. And everybody was saying, well, what? And I'm bringing out that he sleeps in the same bed and that he just gets up when he fucking gets a trip to the factory. But I think I could have added more to that. That's one, I think, an argument I would redo, because I still think it's a good selection, but I think the way I argued it didn't really resonate with a lot of people, and that's one I'd have to redo. What about you, Bob?
I'd like one that I would change the argument for. Changing the argument. Which one would I change the argument for? Not too sure.
Lisa Loeb stay.
Lisa Loeb stay. No, that wasn't one of my picks. I don't know, man. I really don't know. One of the ones I thought maybe I would have had to look into that, where I had a weak argument for it. I know the ones I'd redo. I have a few that I'd like to redo. I would have chose something else, but
if you're cool with hey, that's cool. I'm not gonna fault you if you're good to go. Or if you think you're good.
Yeah, I'd have to think about.
To me, that episode stands out so much. I hate it. I don't think I've ever listened to it, to be honest with you. I just
come on, Joseph.
It's it's like a boxing match when somebody fights Tyson, and I don't want to, Leon speaks, I don't want to watch that shit. So I think you're being too harsh on yourself. I don't think it was that bad. That's a tough topic, because when you're talking about comedy, you kind of think the jokes write themselves, but it's tougher to talk about something funny. It's easier to talk about something serious and make light of it and come up with jokes and nuances and sort of observational humor. But when you have something funny, it's kind of like you're going up against the grain. So that wasn't an easy episode to do.
Yeah,
it really wasn't.
Well, we could go to the redo. Let's do the redo.
So pick I would redo. I'll go first. And I think you guys won this one because you kind of painted me in the corner because best action hero episode 7. Joseph, you picked Schwarzenegger. Bobby picked Stallone. Everybody's gonna know Stallone and Schwarzenegger. I picked Van Damme. Had I had a repick, I would have gone completely different and gone with Jackie Chan. And I know Jackie Chan, a lot of us got introduced to him in Rumble in the Bronx, and he was already, I wouldn't say past his prime, but he had already done so much work. And I remember him from like Cannonball Run and The Big Brawl and some of these 80s movies that made it to HBO. But I would have gone with Jackie Chan. And my argument would have been like, he does all his own fucking stunts. And I would have won the fucking argument. So I would have gone with Jackie Chan, not Van Damme.
Yeah, that would have been a good change. It's a good change. Good change.
Yeah. What about you, Bob?
There was a couple. One I wanted to redo. Like, I think we had best movie athlete. We did a podcast of best movie athlete. I chose Scott Howard from Teen Wolf. We
picked all white people, all white guys.
I was like,
we all should have changed our picks.
I really should have gone with like Dottie Henson. I really, after thinking about it, I should have gone with that pick. That was like the best pick, I think, in probably would have been an easier argument too. I was just like in one of those fun moods where I was like, fuck it. Like, I'll choose Teen Wolf just because it's an easy, it's a fun movie to talk about. But probably should have gone with like Dottie Henson or Rocky Balboa. I think those would have been better picks. Same thing with I mentioned it earlier, the best Nirvana song. I should have just stuck with "Smells Like Teen Spirit." We had just talked about it a couple of weeks before that, a few weeks before that, so I didn't want to go that route again. But I should have, because I think that would have been the best argument for that particular show.
Right, you, Joseph.
Well, obviously, like, I mean, I'm sorry, listeners. I know you might want to hear me say like, that, I probably should have, changed Jim Croce or something like that. But yeah, the obvious is Tonight, best 90s rock song. After hearing you all just destroy the pick that night that we recorded it, and actually listening to the episode, and I thought to myself, you know what? I do like that song. And part of me, like, I remember when I talked about it, I thought like it's not my favorite 90s rock song. I didn't pick something that was my favorite 90s rock song because I kind of wanted to avoid that. And I thought that Tonight was that pick to make, that to avoid, picking something that, I liked or that, was my favorite. But I mean, even by not doing that, there's just so many other great songs that we could have picked. If you can go in the honorable mentions, go listen to them. We put together that Spotify playlist that's full of like all the honorable mentions and whatnot. And there's just like, I could have picked any one of those songs from the honorable mentions, any one from your honorable mentions, and it would have been now I see. I mean, I kind of saw it then too. I would definitely redo this pick and pick something more rocking.
Didn't you say you would have gone with "Liar" by Rollins Band? Was that?
Oh yeah, I thought about At one point, I was like, I should have gone with fucking "Liar" by Rollins Band. That's a rock song.
I would have gone with. I wish I would have mentioned "Mother" by Danzig just because it was
Mother.
It's a fun song to talk about.
I love that song. For y'all out there, if y'all don't know Rollins Band, Henry Rollins, or the song "Liar," go check that song out. It's just
rock. You want to rock.
You want to see rock and have somebody yelling at your face. You go listen to this song.
So, final question before we conclude, guys. What do you feel? What do you feel were your best moments, or something that? And I mentioned a few of them, but if you had to pick maybe one or two moments from the past year that you really enjoyed, what would you pick?
I think one of them I like still laughed. I think I mentioned it. We talked about Bob Dylan being high off his ass singing "We Are the World." I think me commenting on that, it's like something I said to be funny, and then I heard it again and it made me laugh, and then I heard it recently and it made me laugh again. I'm laughing at myself, but I thought it was pretty funny. And then one of the better moments, we talked about Return of the Mac. I think it was a funny like interaction between me and you there. What else was it? Oh, when we talked about worst 80s music video, we were talking about what was the name of her song? And we're like, what the fuck is going on with like the Terminator midgets and the haunted house?
Bonnie, what's it called?
Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah, Turn Around, Bright Eyes. Turn Around. Yeah.
Total Eclipse of the
Heart.
Oh yeah.
Jesus, we want to forget that, right?
Yeah. Those episodes were extremely funny, man, and those little parts and those little scenes I think made me laugh. You all have made me laugh at certain times. I've had to mute it. I've had to mute my mic on more than a few occasions to kind of like get my shit together before I came back to speak. But yeah, those are a couple of moments that really stick out.
For me, I got two that I'll talk about because I've and thank you Randy if for those of y'all at home, Randy put together a Excel spreadsheet of all the episodes and our picks. So I have them all.
He
in
did.
front of me.
Son of a bitch! I was going through each episode today. God damn it!
Send it an email.
I didn't check my email. I'm not at work.
So I'm looking. So I'm looking at I've been able to look at everything. Saddest movie death. I'd probably redo Logan as well. That's another one. But we talked about it earlier. Wrestling growing up for us was very big. I know me and Bob. I think, did you get to check out the Rumble recently, Randy?
I did not. I do have tickets to the AEW event in March, so I'm going to get to take my son. That's going to be a cool thing. Yeah,
awesome, badass. So we saw the most recent Rumble, and it's probably been like I don't know how many years since. For me, I think Bob tries to see it every year, at least with his kids, which is really cool.
Love the Rumble.
So I think it had been like it's always just a fun thing to do. So I mean, clearly, I didn't know everybody. I knew some people. It was cool to see some surprise entrances in the Rumble. For those of y'all that don't know what
it wasn't that good this year, though.
It was it wasn't that great. So I didn't really know a lot of the new people, but hey, it was cool to watch it. And wrestling's like we've mentioned, something that we've in that episode that we talk about extensively, like how it's just growing up. That was so we would watch wrestling together all the time. So that was one of my favorite episodes to do, even though we had the complications that we had, losing the first go around. I know, and I think I admitted it to you guys, and if not, I'm telling you guys now, I was kind of like, oh fuck, we have to do this again. Like how I don't know, I guess you just felt defeated. It's like you said, we were having this awesome show, and then to come back and to try to do what we were doing. I know we threw out some. We were luckily able to recycle some of the things that we said, and they were still funny saying them again, and then kind of adding to them differently when we did it the second time. I thought it was fun. That was a really cool episode to talk about. I think we had a lot of fun doing that one. I think we were, even though we were a little bit upset with what happened, it ended up being really awesome, like you said. And then doing the worst 90s music video with the girls at Turn of the Millennials, Steffi and Lindy. That was a lot of fun. Those girls are so cool. They come at you like they held their own very well and gave some great picks. That was a lot of fun. I love talking with doing shows with them. We did one with them. It was a lot of fun too, with the 90s movie soundtracks. Just that was real fun. Those two really stand out to me. And just talking about those horrible 90s music videos, I picked Nothing My Love Can't Fix.
My Joey Lawrence
show. We got to do another worst videos one. Just like, hey, revisit the 90s and invite them back or do something. We
haven't done the worst 2000s videos. I mean, we can do that. I mean, that's
and there's probably so many. There's so many. Yeah. So girls, hopefully you're listening. Let's talk about that one.
We'll reach out to them. We've already connected with them and say we'd like to do something again within the next month or two, and they're all for it. I had to apologize to them because speaking of best moments, I was listening to that show and it was so fun and it was so funny. But one of the things I thought, like, man, we didn't give them enough of a time to talk, enough avenue to, and I apologize. Like, look, guys, I know we kind of took over and we're not used to having guests. You guys were our first guests, and then they were super polite about it, as all Canadians are, right? And they were like, we promise next time that we'll make sure that you guys kick it off. And they were very gracious to invite us to their show, and we had a good time doing that.
I was gonna say congratulations to them too. They I believe it was last month or beginning of this month, they also reached their 1 year mark as well. So congratulations to them. Y'all are doing great, girls. We really appreciate the friendship, the back and forth with y'all has been really fun, and of course we look forward to more stuff in the future.
We want those Canadian treats, so send them over. We'll send you over some brisket.
Oh yeah, I have to send over brisket.
We're gonna send them a Texas care package full of stuff that they can wear to make them look 10 times cooler up there in Canada.
And maybe a Q taco.
Q taco, tamales, brisket. They're like, fuck, no wonder you guys die of heart disease all the time. Jesus Christ.
Y'all fucking breathe.
You ever tried a salad?
So for best moments for me, and you guys hit upon a bunch of them, but the guests that we've had, I don't want to skim over Joe Michael.
Joe Michael was a very funny episode. I love having him on.
He came ready. Like he was like, hey, when am I coming on? And here's my pick. I'm like, dude, your show's not until 2 months. Yeah. And then
but he was like, so fired up. He did it from a church restroom or some shit like that, right?
He did it in a church. He did it at a church, and then like the first 4 words out of Bob's mouth were "fuck shit." And I'm like, hey, he's at a church, you know. He had his headphones on, but he didn't care. He was like, hey, wail away or whatever. But Joe Michael, who I've known, he was a student worker of ours, and he's a great guy to have. We're going to have him back on. We're going to have a couple of other guests that I actually connected with today. So be on the lookout for that. And we're excited to have him on. And we're always looking for collaborations. And I know there's been a few friends of ours who have reached out to us, guys. We're getting there. We'll
bring you on. The thing is, if you really want to come on, like I'm just speaking to our friends, like, we have
send us a topic. Yeah.
Send us a topic and say you really want to get on. We'll get you on. You need a fucking mic though. And you need a computer. You're not going to share your mind.
Yeah. You can't sit on Bob's lap and fucking rotate the microphone. That's not
having a duet. God damn it.
And then the one other thing I wanted to share is when I talked about the day I met my wife and how that was the day Randy Savage died. And, and I retold that. So your responses were fucking hilarious. And I mean, that was really cool. I really enjoyed you guys, responding to that with the humor. And, I've had some friends who will like say, man, you guys are really like getting better. Like I remember when we did the Saved by the Bell episode, I had a buddy of mine, Alex, is like, man, you guys are really cussing a lot. Can you do that? I was like, yes, we could do that, And he was like, you guys are great, but I got to like turn down the volume at work. And, I was like, well, put on headphones or something. And it says explicit on the cover. So,
like an NWA record.
Exactly. Yes.
we should do like We'll try to throw out like
we'll try to do a clean one.
We'll try to do a 15. We'll try to give you 15 minutes of talking.
Minutes. That's childhood cartoon. Let's talk nostalgia, Mr. Rogers, and
we do not say a bad word.
most muscular He-Man character. We'll do something. So
many arms or man at arms.
Man of arms.
So, hearing like friends saying, man, you guys are really good. And this is good stuff. You guys make me laugh. I mean, that always, of course, it boosts our ego, but it really means a lot because we don't know how we're doing. We always think like we find it funny. Is anybody else going to find it funny? But
exactly.
When you get emails from, different states and different countries and people telling you, hey, you guys are really good and you guys are really funny. They shout us out on their podcasts. I mean, it really does mean a lot. And we're really appreciative of that. We're not looking to make money off this or get our names out there for fame's sake or whatever. This is something we like doing because we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy making people laugh. And this is something that we want to do for a very long time, but we can't do it without you guys. And so thank you all for listening and, and being a part of this podcast. And hit us up if you want to collaborate with us. I mean, we're always open for new.
Or give us ideas. At least give us an idea for a show. Like maybe you don't want to be on the show with us, but give us a good idea. We'll give you a shout out at the beginning of the show and at the end of the show and say, hey, this topic was given to us by so-and-so, and they're really adamant about it. So, we wanted to do this show for them and, we'll go from there.
So any last words, guys, to wrap this up?
It's been, what is that famous quote? It's what a long, strange trip it's been.
Yes.
It's been, it's been a great year. I can't say like the year itself has been all the outside stuff, but doing this for a year has been really great. And it's like a huge stress reliever. And we've met some cool people and, we've created some really funny content. And then I hope everybody listens to it and, has a drink, or they're drinking coffee on their way to work and they just kind of enjoy it and take it as it is, 3 buddies just shooting the shit and having fun and, making fun of each other's picks and agreeing and disagreeing. It's a really cool, we think it's a really cool premise, and we hope you all stick around for the road ahead. I know we have a bunch of great topics still left and some funny topics. I know we've chosen the best a lot in our first year, but we're going to go with the worst and the funniest and we have a lot of different topics we're going to go with. So stick around. We may surprise you some more.
We got to do some more stuff. Yeah, that's right, Bob. Let's go dark. Yeah, let's go.
Jesus Christ, Joseph.
Thank you guys, because we're growing every fucking month. We get more listeners, we get more hits, we get more downloads, and it's fucking amazing.
Interact with us.
That's like $6 and like.
I know, and he's like,
this guy telling us we cuss.
He's like, we cuss. 5 seconds, Bob said shit or fuck with it. Like a couple episodes ago, like the first 2 minutes in, he's like, your balls are getting shocked in Mexico. You're like, what the hell?
And that's our show, everyone. Listeners, as mentioned before, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up on our social media. Let us know what you think about the show. It's our 1-year anniversary. We're going to do this for another year at least. You could let us know what you think about us. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching for Formidable Opponents. We also forgot to shout out Creative Little Pill because her cover art has been awesome and it's made a world of difference. So thank you so much for doing that. Join us for our next episode as we cover worst cover song of all time. So for Bob and Joseph, thank you all so much. We will see you all next week.
We should probably ask people like who sang the song the worst. Was it probably Randy going?
I have a terrible voice. I'm sure other parts I've tried to sing are terrible.